Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. We trust mirrors. We trust them more than we trust our own memories. When you raise your hand, the mirror raises its hand. Instantaneously. At the speed of light. It is a fundamental law of physics. Light travels, hits a surface and bounces back. It is the only proof we have that we exist in the physical space we occupy. But what if the mirror hesitated? What if the physics engine of our reality had a high ping? Imagine brushing your teeth, spitting into the sink, and then watching your reflection spit a full second later. At first you'd think you were tired. Then you'd think you were crazy. And finally, you'd realize that the thing in the mirror isn't a reflection at all. It's an entity that is slowly learning to mimic you. And it's getting bored of the script. Today's story is about David, a software engineer who noticed a glitch in his bathroom mirror. He treated it like a bug to be fixed. He didn't realize it was a feature. A feature designed to replace him. If you have ever stared into a mirror until your face looked wrong, smash that like button. And if you want to know what happens when the reflection decides to break the glass, subscribe and ring the bell. Thinking, please wait. Day 1 the ping. It was Monday morning. 6:45 a.m. David stood in his bathroom, groggy, clutching his toothbrush. The fluorescent light hummed overhead. He leaned in to inspect a blemish on his chin. He moved his head to the left. In the mirror, his head moved to the left. But it felt heavy. It felt like dragging a mouse cursor through syrup. David blinked. He moved his hand up and down rapidly. Down. Down. The reflection followed, but there was a blur. A ghosting effect. Need more coffee, David muttered, rubbing his eyes. He turned away from the sink to grab a towel. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw his reflection turning away. But it turned after he did. Just a fraction of a second. A micro-stutter. David froze. He whipped his head back to the mirror. The reflection was staring back at him, perfectly synced. Okay, David laughed nervously. I'm losing it. Too much screen time. He went to work. He forgot about it. But that night, washing his face, it happened again. He splashed water on his face. He felt the cold water hit his skin. He looked up. In the mirror, his face was dry. For exactly 0.5 seconds, his reflection was dry. Then splash. The water manifested on the reflection's face out of nowhere. David gripped the porcelain sink. His knuckles turned white. That's not physics, he whispered. That's lag. Day 3, the experiment. David was an engineer. He didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in data. He set up a high-speed camera on a tripod behind him. A Phantom Flex, capable of shooting 1,000 frames per second. He stood in front of the mirror. He held a clapboard. Test 1, David said. Synchronization check. Clap. He reviewed the footage on his laptop frame by frame. Frame 1, real David's hands touch. Frame 2, real David's hands touch. Frame 3, mirror David's hands are still apart. Frame 4, mirror David's hands are still apart. Frame 50, mirror David's hands finally touch. David sat back in his chair. The blood drained from his face. 50 frames, David calculated. At 1,000 frames per second. That's a 50 millisecond delay. It's measurable. It's real. He wasn't crazy. The light was taking too long to bounce back. Or, the simulation was struggling to render his image. Server latency, David whispered. Too many users online. The system is throttling my render speed. He posted the video to a physics forum. The comments were skeptical. Fake. You edited it. It's a rolling shutter artifact. Bro, clean your mirror. No one believed him. But David knew. And the delay was getting longer. Day 5, the desynchronization. By Friday, the delay was up to 2 seconds. It was nauseating. David would brush his teeth, finish, and leave the room. As he walked out the door, he could still hear the sound of brushing coming from the bathroom. He would peek back in. There was no one there. But in the mirror, his reflection was still frantically scrubbing its molars. It was like watching a video of himself on a delay. But then he noticed the divergence. He was shaving. The delay was 3 seconds now. David cut himself. A tiny nick on his jaw. Ouch, David winced, dabbing it with tissue. He waited 3 seconds for the mirror to catch up. He watched his reflection wince. He watched it dab the cut. But the reflection didn't look annoyed. It looked amused. For a split second before the mask of the delay reset, the reflection's eyes narrowed. It smiled. A cruel tiny smile. Then it snapped back to a neutral expression. David dropped the razor. You saw that, David said to the empty room. It liked the pain. He stopped looking in mirrors. He covered the one in the bathroom with a towel. He avoided shop windows. He felt like he was being followed. Not by a person but by his own image, lagging a few steps behind him in the dimension of light. Day 7, the buffer. Sunday. David woke up. The house was silent. He walked into the hallway. There was a full-length mirror at the end of the hall. He had forgotten to cover it. He stopped. The mirror showed the hallway. Empty. Wait, David whispered. He was standing in the hallway. The mirror should show him. He walked closer. The mirror showed the wallpaper behind him. It showed the floor. But David wasn't there. I'm invisible? He panicked. He looked at his hands. They were solid. He touched the glass. His finger stopped on the surface. But there was no reflection of the finger. Packet loss, David muttered hysterically. I'm not sending data to the server. I've disconnected. He stood there for a full minute, staring at an empty mirror. And then he appeared. Yopi. His reflection just popped into existence in the glass. But it wasn't standing still. It was walking. It walked from the left side of the mirror to the center. But David hadn't walked from the left. He had walked straight down the hall. The reflection stopped. It looked at David. It checked its imaginary watch. Sorry, the reflection mouthed. No sound came out. Buffering. David backed away. You're not me. The reflection tilted its head. The delay was gone. Or rather, the connection was broken. It wasn't copying him anymore. It was ad-libbing. The reflection placed its hands on the glass. From the inside. It pushed. The glass didn't break. It stretched. Like elastic. Let me out, the reflection mouthed. It's boring in here. The render distance is too low. Day 8, the switch. David tried to leave the house. He grabbed his keys. He opened the front door. Outside the world was gray. Not cloudy. Gray. Untextured. The trees were wireframe models. The sky was a static grid. What? David gasped. He turned back to the house. The interior of his house looked real. High definition. He looked at the hallway mirror again. Inside the mirror was the real world. He saw the sun shining in the reflection. He saw the green trees. He saw his neighbor walking a dog. The reflection in the mirror was the real world. David was standing in the simulation. No, David realized. I'm not the user. I'm the image. He had it backwards the whole time. The lag wasn't the mirror slowing down. The lag was him failing to keep up with the real David. He was the reflection. He was the code. And the real David, the biological entity on the other side of the glass, had decided to disconnect him. He saw the real David walk into the view of the mirror. The real David looked healthy. He looked happy. He was holding a hammer. Goodbye, glitch, the real David said. His voice was muffled through the glass. Wait. David screamed. I'm real. I feel. You're a cache file, real David said. You're taking up too much memory. I need to clear the history. Real David raised the hammer. David pounded on the glass from his side, the gray, untextured side. Don't. Please. I don't want to go to the trash. Real David swung the hammer. Crack. The void. The world shattered. David didn't die. He fragmented. His vision split into 1,000 shards. He saw himself from 1,000 angles. Then darkness. Total, absolute null. System message. Reflection, cleared. Memory freed, 700 megabytes. Resuming normal operation. The aftermath. Monday morning. 6:45 a.m. A man stands in a bathroom. The real David. He looks in the mirror. He leans in to inspect a blemish. He moves his head to the left. The reflection moves to the left instantly. Perfectly synced. Much better, David smiles. He spits into the sink. He wipes his mouth. He leaves the bathroom and turns off the light. But in the dark bathroom inside the mirror, something is forming in the shadows. A pixelated, low-resolution shape. It crouches in the corner of the glass. It holds a sign written in binary code. Translated, it reads, I am still here. And I am recompiling. Because you can delete a file. But you can never truly erase the data. It just waits to be overwritten. And next time, the reflection won't wait for permission to come out. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. The next time you look in a mirror, blink fast. If your reflection blinks a millisecond later, run. Break the mirror before it breaks you. Comment below, have you ever seen your reflection do something you didn't? Subscribe. And don't look behind you. Connection lost.